後に教えられた。老人は父で、老婆は祖母だった。そして、ずっと父だと思っていた男は、兄だということも。
There are a lot of misconceptions about Jinshi, his character, and his identity. So today I will be talking about who he is in a little detail. In the first season, we got to know about Jinshi's real age and the fact that he's not a eunuch, but rather a person of a royal blood, either Emperor's brother or his son. Now in season 2, we come to know that he's the Emperor's brother and not his son, opposite to what Mamo had deduced in season 1. But what if I tell you that our girl was right the entire time, and that we might have been misled by the author on purpose? Or maybe not on purpose, but that's not the point. The point is to tell people the truth. And the truth is that Jinshi is Emperor's son and not his brother. But he doesn't know about it, not at least till 13th volume of the light novel. Right. For people who don't know, this anime is an adaptation of a light novel. It also have mangas drawn by 2 different artists and a web novel. So as someone who has read the light novels, I will spoil things for you. The recent episodes showed us that Jinshi was the previous emperor's son, and the empress dowager / Anshi was his mother. But as we move further into the story, we see Aduo and empress dowager swapping the babies. It's in volume 5 and it's in Aduo's point of view if you want to read the whole scene. So one day she was enjoying a drink, remembering the promise that the emperor had made to her. I have no interest in anyone but you for my bride, he had said, and she had replied in her mind with, don't make promises you can't keep. By then she had lost the ability to bear children, as we have seen in season 1. But she still had the one she gave birth to, and she loved him very dearly. Though she couldn't feed him well due to her medical condition, so the infant was returned to the nursemaid. Wrecked with despair, Aduo thought only of her child. She thought of only how to help the tiny vulnerable thing survive. And one day she finally reached a decision. They looked so much alike, her child and his uncle, that had been born at almost the same time. Concerned about her infant's failure to put on weight, Aduo decided to go see her mother-in-law. You could switch them and it seemed like no one would know. She had been half joking but half serious. All of their various attendants and nursemaid had been dismissed from the room. You might be right, could you take care of him please? Her mother-in-law had said. Picking up Aduo's child, she removed his swaddling clothes, preparing to change his diaper. Meanwhile, Aduo accepted her brother-in-law and did the same, replacing his diaper with the one she had brought along. Each of them had just given birth and each of them felt like she was missing a piece of her heart. There was nothing in Anshi's eyes as she looked at her own child. Nobody seemed to notice because Anshi constantly kept a smile on her face, but she looked at Aduo's baby with genuine warmth. Perhaps she found her son's child lovable even as her husband seems to be hateful to her. Perhaps that's why she said nothing, even when Aduo left and went back to her pavilion with Anshi's child still in her arms. They exchanged healthy bouncing babies as if it was the most natural thing in the world. As for why Anshi doesn't like her child, this week's episode will clear that up. And later we know that the child that Aduo was raising died with honey poisoning. Perhaps without the switch, it would have lived. Aduo mourned the loss for she had come to love the child. But she was also glad to know that her own offspring was still alive. The death appeared to shake both Aduo and Anshi. The naughty little troublemaker who had always given the serving women such headaches was now enough of a grown-up to sense it. But he was also young enough that he had to lash out somewhere. So a doctor was banished from the real palace. Fate was a strange thing though. That physician's adopted daughter was now her son's favorite. Anyways, so yeah, this concludes that they were swapped as babies and Mama was right the whole time. And as for his name and whether or not he knows about his real identity, well, his real name is Kasugitsu. But out of respect, no one calls him that. They call him the Moon Prince, as Aduo have given him the nickname Yui. But there were scenes in light novel 8 or 9 where Mamo guessed that Jinshi might know who his parents are, as he cries and gets sulky after the emperor hits him and looks at him with sadness rather than anger because he literally burned Gyokyo's mark on himself. She thought all that had to do something with Jinshi and his majesty, and Aduo as well. It was only a distant guess in her mind, but the more she'd had to deal with all of them, the more certain she had become, even if she would never have spoken the secret aloud. It hurts to have your father get angry at you, she recalled. Supposedly, one needed objective proof to change a hypothesis into a certainty, and Mama was trying to find that proof among human emotions. What a vague and unscientific place to look, she had thought. And yet, having seen the emperor's eyes filled with sadness and the way he hesitated in front of Empress Gyokyo, Mama could only think of one thing, that Jinshi was the current emperor's eldest son. She had her doubts, but we know the truth. And as a reader, I find it very exciting when a character finds out about something that we already know of. Like how Momo is going to find out that Jinshi is not a eunuch, and how Jinshi will figure out who kidnapped Momo in the upcoming episodes. Also, I'd say that the author wrote the book in a very interesting way, and the translators also did an amazing job. I figured they don't really confirm a lot of things, and my big brain doesn't understand hints sometimes. It's the same with the question of whether or not the Emperor knew of the swap. I believe that he does know about it. That's why he had banished Lumen from the inner palace. And also because Aduo thinks that he accepted Jinshi's request to become a eunuch so that he could be closer to his real mother. And then there's also this conversation between them that shows the fact that the Emperor knew. Plus, from time to time, the author brings Emperor's promise to Aduo back. The one where he says that he'll make her the mother of the nation. And honestly, that could only happen if Jinshi is revealed as the Emperor's son and decides to become the next emperor. It's far-stretched and would create a lot of problems, obviously, but the truth has to come out someday, right? Well, that was off topic. Let's go back now. Now, this isn't covered in the anime yet, but in the manga, it is shown that Jinshi resembles the stupid old previous emperor. So, a lot of people believe that he is, in fact, his child. They seem to forget all about this episode. And it's a fact that he does look like that stupid old emperor, but he also looks like Aduo. So, according to my knowledge in genetics, it's clear that he has both of their genes. Aduo as his mother and the previous emperor as his grandfather. Hope it makes sense. And I feel like politically it doesn't really matter who Jinshi is, because he will be kept next in line to the throne unless they succeed in raising the emperor's son before anything happens to him. And spoilers from the light novels that aren't officially translated, the emperor will get sick, and our sweet boy will start worrying about the what-ifs. From the first day, he doesn't want it to become the future emperor. But maybe the author has something else in her mind. I honestly can't wait for the story to unfold. Tell me your thoughts about this whole plot. That was all for today's video. Thank you for listening to me. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
No, you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change.